Hello everybody, welcome back to another video with Kat about Raid Shadow Legends. Today we're going to talk about a post that I found on the Raid Shadow Legends subreddit that kind of spoke to me, and I'm interested to hear what a lot of other people feel about this. So the post is about somebody feeling extremely burnt out in the game, so I'm going to talk about my experience with burnout in games and how it relates to Raid Shadow Legends, kind of go over what this person's talking about, some of the comments, and then relate my own experience to what's going on. So before we get into it, don't be burnt out. Hopefully, if you're not burnt out, you can click the link in the description and get started with Raid Shadow Legends or create a new account. With the link in the description, you're going to get the free legendary Corrado Fox Hunter plus 3 epic support champions, Tagore, Mausoleum Mage, and Lady Annabelle. Plus, there is a brand new legendary champion coming to the game in early July. That would be Lemonisi Goldwing. So her login calendar will begin on July 3rd, and you can get 3 legendary champions and 3 epic support champions. Your 3rd legendary champion will come from using the promo code Monkey King and getting Sun Wukong. He's my favorite champion in the game, and he's only available till the end of June, so you got to jump on that as soon as possible. Look down at the date on your computer or your phone. It's almost the end of June. Do it now. So I'm going to read through the post and some of the comments, and I'm going to touch on a couple points that, in my experience, having played a lot of mobile games in my life, basically spent my whole life playing video games. I'm going to talk about my experience, and let's just go into it. So this person feels very like Raid is super demanding with time and energy than what they want to give. And so here's some of the problems they have in general. Champion training is irritating after the change to only give 1 point on levels on T2s. It just makes it grindy and long. Fusions take a lot. Very true. I do agree with that. They do take a lot. And fusions paired with the Deck of Fate or the Titan event, it just feels kind of tedious and old. They feel like every event is starting to make things like is just Plarium trying to make things harder. Too many champions in the game. I have no time to build them, experiment, and try to update portfolio of usable champions. There's going to be a video that pops up in the corner. Boomer and I covered a Reddit post that was talking about too many champions in the game and our thoughts in the process. So if you want to see that topic more in depth, that's going to appear up in the corner. And then their 5th point being, any new champion you get is gate locked by blessings, levels, masteries. Like you can't, and basically you're not able to, it's really hard to start using that champion because there's so many means of upgrades, so it kind of gets overwhelmed. And there are some champions where they feel like aren't really worth it until you have them fully, like, given a blessings, fully leveled up, fully masteried, all the books, everything else. So I want to go through these points kind of one by one because the rest of the post is, really, here are all the champions that I've got recently and I can't build them, their final point, which I totally understand. So number 1, champ training is irritating that it just takes grindy and long. I get that. Absolutely. A lot of the times when I do champion training, it's super mindless for me. I've talked about it before with the fusion, that I'll basically just sit on the couch with my iPad and I have Raid Shadow Legends open and I just kind of go beak, 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 and just replay and just burn through my energy. Or if you're doing multi-battles, it can go by pretty quickly, but I understand that it can be grindy and long. I actually don't mind that there is kind of an idle aspect to the game. Only with the champion training event that's been going on, I haven't been training as much as I normally do, but I don't have this much experience with champion training. I don't mind that it's that it takes a while. I don't mind that it's mindless. When it comes to fusions, 100% agree. Fusions take a lot. So out of this year, there have been 5 fusions. 2025, we have had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 fusions. Okay, so out of those 6 fusions, I have done 2. And I think that's a core of what goes on here because it does take a lot. It's a lot of time and it can be really exhausting. You really have to plan your way through it. And I understand that can be a lot, but you don't have to do all of them. And you will see some of the comments where people say that too. Same thing about the Deck of Fate or Titan event, and it's really exhausting. I'm going to show you guys my Titan event. Look at how far I am. I just got 30 points. I am not even at 300. I have a single soul awakening for Tholen. I'm chilling. Like, I'm not even worrying about this. I'm kind of pushing on the champion training event because I want to push myself on training, and I have a lot of champions, a lot of 4-star champions that I'm trying to get to level 5. So, I mean, there's a 2-for-1 situation going on here, but I am in no way, shape, or form bothering to do this Titan event. and I think you don't really have to. So, point number 4, I do understand this. Absolutely. There's a lot of champions in the game, and I don't have a lot of time to build them, experiment, and play around with things. So I think that also has to go into the mentality of how you're playing the game. If you are working on a specific goal, like the specific goal that I am working on right now is I want to make more improvements in Faction Wars and Curse City. So those 2 areas tend to mean that I need to like spread my resources across a lot of champions, which is very in depth. There's a lot that goes into that. So we'll take a look at some of these some really good champions that I've gotten lately that have no love whatsoever. Eric's, nothing. I got him up to level 50 and fully ascended, and that's it. But those are things that take 5 seconds. Syl, who I know is a super good champion. I just don't. Rush card the tower. Like, there are lots of champions. Even my Mothman, he's just sitting in faction. He's just sitting in the Guardian ring. He's slowly getting his levels up in there, but is not a priority at the moment because what I am focusing on is getting a bunch of other champions up to, you see how many level 40 champions I have. And since I'm focusing so hard on Faction Wars, that's where I need to be giving all my attention. So in the meantime, this champion who is really good is just not getting a lot of attention. That's okay. Biggin is the same thing, and Contra the Cyclone, who I know is super good for Hydra, it's just not a priority at the moment. And I think that's okay, because you only have so much time in the day. You only have so many resources. So of course you're going to have to allocate some to whatever goal you're currently working on. But on the flip side of this, the way I see it is and I think this fits for pretty much every point that the person is making. You don't have to do all of these things. This game you can play this game exactly how you want to. Like, you don't have to do the fusions. You can just goof around. You can do like I'm doing and just not bother really at all to do the Deck of Fate or Titan. If I get some points for it, doing the things that I normally do, sweet. I'll enjoy it. I'll get some extra resources. But I don't feel, and this is just my experience, it's entirely different from person to person. I don't feel like I have to do all these things. I don't feel like if I didn't do that Tholen fusion that my account would be significantly behind everybody. No, I feel like I have a really solid account. I've lucked out in a lot of shard pulls and gotten some really solid champions that a lot of the time I don't feel like a fusion is a must do. So I want to explore some of the other things that people are talking about. Now, this one I thought was interesting. So basically, the summary of this whole post right here is that this is an endgame player. And this kind of leads into my experience with getting burnt out in games. This person is struggling to pull the champions that they need for Factions hard mode. They are really struggling to, find champions that are worth putting energy into, and they feel like they're kind of at a stalemate with the game, which I totally understand. When you get to kind of the end of a game, the amount of things that you can do just really gets narrow and can kind of get frustrating when you go in and it's like, well, I'm not pulling the champions I need. I can't make the progress in Faction Wars or Curse City or Hydra or wherever else you're working on. I understand. Where I'm at in the game, I'm okay getting a bunch of champions that I don't need because I'm building faction guardians. I'm using them as food for other champions that I need to rank up. But I could see by the end of your account, when you have everybody ranked up and now you're just waiting for those 1 or 2 champions that you need, that can get super frustrating. So that is a perspective that I think needs to be heard. And from what I understand, the really only end game kind of setup that they have is Curse City, which, by the way, I just discovered Curse City has normal and hard mode, and I was doing hard mode on Curse City for forever, and now I'm like, And I just switched over to normal, and I was like, oh my god, I can actually make so much more progress in Cursed City than I did before. And if that's the only thing that you have to work on, that can be really frustrating, especially for the reasons that they say, because there'll be I'm missing some really top tier champions for factions, and for others I'm missing the top tier gear. So those are two, and that gets really, really specific and really, really hard to do. For some instances, you might need mythical gear, which is extremely hard to get. Even when you're doing the hard mode of dungeons, it's still like a 1 or 2% drop rate. So you have to spend so much energy, and I can see it just being monotonous and not fun over time. So I think that's a really important perspective. The reason that I have been burnt out on a lot of video games, like console games versus mobile games, in all of those instances, I get burnt out because I feel like I've hit the end, where I feel like there's nothing else that I can do. This happens with, so even though I play a lot of Raid Shadow Legends, I have a couple like stupid mobile games, like little puzzles or other little goofy games, or like the farming games. You know, you all know what I'm talking about, the ones that you get ads for on your Instagram and whatever. With those, when I start feeling like I get towards endgame, I find my interest in the game just rapidly decreasing. And I think it's for exactly this reason, is I start to make that progress towards the end, it just takes so much more effort, and it's so long, and it's so drawn out, and it's just exhausting at a certain point. You don't get that gratification like you do earlier in the game. And I know that's the idea of how they have these games designed. You want it to be interesting first, like right off the bat. So I'm hoping that Polarium sees a post like this, and especially this post right here. So it'll let them know, like, late game players, and especially people who have played a while, who've invested money and a lot of time into this game, they need some love too, and they need some more interesting game modes. And who knows, they might be working on stuff behind the scenes that we don't know about. The comment below this, it kind of summarizes my point. If you're going to play this game, you have to do it on your own terms and find value in that. So when you are starting a game like this, especially Raid Shadow Legends, you have to know what you want coming out of the game. So I play the game fairly competitively. I'm in a clan with my husband and a lot of other people that I know in real life or just from online, and we are fairly competitive. That might shift some people because it depends on if you want to be more casual or competitive. I tend to be I lean a little bit more on the casual side, but sometimes if I feel like there's a lot of value in it, I'll get a little bit more competitive and I'll enjoy it more. But if you're feeling burnt out on the game, take a break. This is a kind of game where I feel like you definitely have the time to take a break. You don't have to keep playing this game. There are games that I've played in the past that have a daily login requirement. That burns me out really quick because it's like, don't tell me what to do. I think this person agrees. It's a lot, and I frequently skip events if I'm not in the mood. Same. Just skip the events. You don't have to do everything. I understand that, you feel kind of compelled, especially if you've played a lot of other mobile games that have that, practices that kind of get you, like, that are designed to take the player and keep them focused on the game and playing as much as possible. I think we're all kind of used to that. I don't feel that as much in Raid Shadow Legends. I feel like I can just do whatever, play as much or as little as I want to, and it's not going to be a detriment. I'm just going to be a little behind compared to other people. So that's my perspective. I'll link this post in the description if you want to read more into it and go more in depth. But that was basically all I had. So let me know down in the comments what's your experience with Burnout, or specifically with Burnout with Raid Shadow Legends, and I'm interested to hear. And let me know if you agree or disagree on some of these points. I think it's an important topic to discuss. Like, burnout is real on all video games and in life in general. So I think it's a good way to, tell us your experience. If you've burnt out on the game, if you've left and come back, like, what's your experience with that? I think it's really interesting. But that's everything I have. Thank you guys so much for being here. If you haven't already, don't forget to click the link in the description if you're not too afraid of getting started with Raid Shadow Legends after this whole tirade we've gone through. But you'll get Legendary Corrado Fox Hunter, 3 epic support champions, Tagore, Mausoleum Mage, and Lady Annabelle. And don't forget to use the promo code Monkey King by the end of June and get him before he's gone. But thank you guys again so much for being here, and I will see you in the next video. Bye!